the meditation without mask. You can keep your mask if you like.
Meditating with Ajahn, let us all bow together 3 times if you haven't yet. In our usual way. Ajali Vandana. Abhi Vandana. Ajali Vandana. Abhi Vandana. Ajali Vandana. Abhi Vandana. Ajali Vandana. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us once again, and let us thank Ajahn Yiu ahead for the precious time, as well as Michi Fafa, as well as everyone else who make this happen. So let me remind everyone once again that we are recording this meeting and we're going to share it on YouTube later. So if you have any questions or anything to share, which you think might be too private, that you could stay behind and have a more private, personal chatting with Ajahn after this. Okay, thank you very much. And so please, Ajahn.
So let's start to know the present moment. When you are moving your body, you know. So the first thing we need to do is to we adjust our role in the meditation. Never think that we are the master of this person. Although it might be quite difficult to do this in our daily life, but we can try it in the meditation, which is quite a more controlled condition, so that we can taste to be another role as an observer, as a knower to this person. Relax the body, relax the brain, relax the mind, relax the attachment to ego. Try to be humble in front of the nature. The 5 khandhas are actually a part of the nature. And they have never been belong to us. But we simply had a wrong concept, a wrong belief that we can own this body and mind. And we try to control, try to achieve something with this body and mind, which finally will end up in sufferings. Because everything is impermanent. We can own nothing. Even we can own it temporarily, but finally they will gone. And if we attached to that we can own something, we are the master of something, and we must suffer. We borrow this body and mind from the nature in order to cultivate our mind, cultivate this knower, because this knower is caught in the wrong views, caught in the ego. So the cultivation is to free this knowing from this ego. It is not me, it is not I who is practicing. It is the mind practicing. And remember everything happens in our life serves for this purpose. We can't own anything. We can't gain anything from the life, but we can learn from it. Learn how to let go. Learn that actually there's no self. So now, after we have set up such right view with the right mood of being a humble knower, pay attention to this breathing body. Just let your knowing open, like the sun shed light on this body, this person. We don't need to focus the light into any point, but just let it know the breathing body. Breathe in and out. These are the wind of the nature. It's not under our control. It's not under our ownership. And relax the brain. We are usually overusing this brain in our daily life. Every time we speak, we think. Every time even we are not speaking, we also think. We seldom stop thinking in the life. And normally our brain is in agitation. Just relax it. Withdraw your wrong view of ownership over this brain. Just let the brain take a rest in the breathing. Just look at this resting brain as if you are looking at something not belong to you. Looking at a tree, at a stone, at a flowing water. Something belong to the nature. The reality exists only at the present moment. And we are practicing ourselves, practicing the mind to know the present moment, to know the reality. And only from the reality we can understand the truth of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. And only by understanding this truth, then we can, the mind knows how to let go. The mind is willing to let go. If it is you who is practicing, then you can simply order yourself to let go. But why we can't do that? Because it is not we who are practicing. It is the mind practicing. The mind which is trapped in ego. The ego is a prison. It's a self-made prison. It is a piece of memory, a piece of self-identification, a piece of past data that we think that this is me. It's a concept, it's an impression, but never actually exists. So we relax such attachment to ego, such belief that I exist, and surrender to the nature. If we don't attach onto this body and mind, then this body and mind is Dhamma. It is the nature. Dhamma means the nature. In Thai language, which is from Indian, maybe Pali or Sanskrit, Dhamma and Dhamma and the nature from the same root. Thai word for the nature is Dhamachat. It means the nature. Nature is something that has no self. Everything that has no self is the nature. Everything that don't have the attachment to ego is nature, is Dhamma. So if we want to understand, to learn from the Dhamma, we need to let go the ego, or at least we can temporarily relax the ego. That is what we are doing in the meditation. Peacefulness of the body and mind cannot end the suffering, but it can give the mind a better condition to wake up from the prison of ego. So remember, the goal of our meditation is not simply to achieve the peacefulness of this body and mind. But when the body and mind is pacified, then we can try to wake up the mind, wake up the knower, without attaching that this is me. How to make the body and mind peaceful? It is a work to deal with the 5 hindrances. For some people, concentration may be an effective way to deal with the 5 hindrances, but surely not suitable for everyone. For someone who are too stressed or don't know how to adjust to the just right moment of concentration, then this method is sometimes quite dangerous for them. Concentration is an element of mind which is necessary in all kinds of mental activities. If we don't have any concentration, we cannot stay awake. But when we are practicing meditation, when we are observing and knowing our meditation objects, don't concentrate too much. Concentration should be in balance with relaxation. So it is our own duty to know how to adjust the just right moment, the just right amount of concentration. It may be different for different personality or different conditions, different mental situations. If we are too tired, we need to balance the brain first. The brain is overused, then it is tired. So relax the brain, relax the nervous system. deeper breathing is quite effective way to increase the level of oxygen to the brain, and it will physically help to refresh the brain. On the other hand, we also need to reduce the level of activity of the brain, because this is draining our energy. So you can take a deeper breath, and at the same time relax the brain in every breath. Breathe in, relax the brain. Breathe out, relax the brain. And let the brain settle down like a cup of water. Just put it on a stable table and don't disturb it. And every breath brings out the oxygen, and like a stream of light flow into the brain, refresh the brain. And your eyes just like looking backward, looking into the brain, into the center of the brain. Do it with imagination, not doing it with muscle. This is also a small technique to recharge the brain, recharge the mental energy. Because our eyes are always draining of energy. When we are looking at something, external objects or internal objects, imaginary objects, we are also draining the energy through the eye door. So that's why the Buddha taught us to guard our sense doors with mindfulness. If we can do this in our daily life, then we'll find that our mental energy is at a higher level, because we are not wasting too much energy and scattered our mind into different sense objects. The mind is not wandering outside and stay at the middle. This is a way to preserve our mind, preserve our mental energy. And in this way, our mindfulness can be maintained in the higher level. So now just let the brain take a rest so as to rebalance the energy level. The brain is sleeping, but the mind is knowing. Just know loosely, know without stress, without controlling. And such knowing, open knowing, is a natural function of the consciousness element. Once there's a ego go into the scenario. I want to know, I'm knowing this and that, then it is not natural. The knowing is not you. Knowing is just a phenomenon. And when the mind is more settled down, then this knowing will be clearer, will be sharper, because the hindrances are no more, no obstacles. Just like there's no clouds covering the moon, then the moon is shining in its own nature. Light is the nature of the moon. It's not a result of concentration. Be humble in doing this. Agitation is not your enemy. Sleepiness is not your enemy. They are the natural phenomena of the brain. But keep our right view, right understanding. Don't get deluded, don't get lost in the phenomena. You are just a humble knower. When we can keep neutral, and when the mind is non-doing, non-disturbing, then you will naturally have the attitude of humility, will be humble. And once we think that we are the master, we are no longer humble. Just keep the brain, take a rest there. But we don't need to lock ourselves with the brain. Just let it take a sleep there. But the mind, the knowing, is still free. Then we can relax another part of this person, which is the emotional center at the center of the chest. Relax this area to feel the stress, tension, tightness in this area, if there is any, and relax it, open it, let go it, release it. If we don't think that this is my emotion, I own this emotion, this is my situation, then actually they will not stay there. Because we create a container for these emotions. We create a container for this stress. That's why it is there. Just break up this container, then the stress will go themselves. They will fade into the nature. Break the boundary between also called self and non-self. We may have different sorts of emotional stress in our daily life because we think that there's a person suffering from this stress. But now we try to change to another perspective. There is a stress, but there's no one suffering. There's no being as the owner of this stress. And that's why we don't need to keep the stress in ourselves. Once we can relax the ego, then we can relax the stress. We suffer from all kinds of stress because we attach to the sense of ego. Relax the sense of ego and just let it be. The nature will settle down the emotions. And now we are a knower, an outsider, observing this relaxing body and mind. This person is sitting here, resting the brain, resting the heart. And we are just an outsider, a knowing from nowhere. Just keep knowing from this perspective. And be patient. It may take time for the nature to settle down different energies in this body and mind. And we need to be patient as a knower. This is the way to relax the inner part of this person, more subtle part. And you can just treat it as kind of exercise, healthy exercise, and try to bring it into your daily life. Don't think that this is a meditation session. We need to sit in cross-legged posture. We need to close the eyes. We need to do this, do that. is an exercise of relaxation. When the body and mind is relaxed, then peacefulness will be naturally there, and knowing will be sharper, clearer. This is a natural result. Even we don't want it, it will happen. And when there is no hindrances, the mind is naturally unified. It is naturally one. The unification of mind. It's not a result of concentration. The mind has no spatial concepts. The concentration seems to adjust ourselves. As, we need to narrow the mind into a smaller object, and we pay efforts to narrow the mind, to fix the mind into a smaller object, control it. We press it, and we accumulate stress in the heart in the process. If we are not aware of this, such stress may be accumulated to a very high level and cause different kinds of uh, mental disorders. And for those who are not aware of their own emotional state in the meditation, the more they practice, the more abnormal they will be. Someone, someone gets insane because of meditation, because they don't know the right attitude, the right way. They look for only the meditation object, but completely ignore their emotional state, completely ignore the actions of the mind, the wrong actions, which is greed, aversion, and delusion. And they are cultivating wholesome and unwholesome Dhamma at the same time, without awareness. So that's why it's very important to start our meditation with the right view. Remind ourselves of this when we start to meditate, and try to keep the right perspective during the meditation. Uh, and actually, meditation can be a process of uh, reaffirming our right view. It is relatively easier to do it in the meditation because the scenario is more controlled. Just like we do the experiment in the laboratory under the controlled situation. But when we taste the right view, then we can remember it and try to bring it, extend it into our daily life. This is greenhouse cultivation for the right view. But it's quite important in our practice. Otherwise, we cannot maintain our mindfulness and wisdom in the daily life. Meditation helps to cultivate the right view. And also the precept is also an important factor in cultivating our path. Precepts is not a torture to ourselves. It's kind of simplifying our life, simplifying our mind. If we can refrain ourselves from doing something that we will regret in the future, something that will have make a problem in our practice, and to reduce the level of sensual enjoyment, reduce the time that we are not mindful, then our mental house will be more simple and clean, because we didn't bring a lot of rubbish and use less furniture into the house. So every time when we do the meditation, do the cleaning job, it'll be easier. If we always be deluded in what we see, what we hear, what we think, then our house will be very complicated, very cloudy, with the different kinds of furnitures, useless furnitures. So every time when we do the cleaning job, it will be a great burden for us. And after several times, we'll be afraid of meditation because it's so troublesome, so difficult. We need to remove all kinds of furnitures and rubbish from here to there, there to here, and then do the sweeping and mopping. After that, we need to move everything back to the place. It's so troublesome. That's because we ourselves brought all these rubbish into the house. So it increased the difficulty in housekeeping. Try to live in a simple way of life. Then our mental house will be simpler. Not so many furnitures, not so many rubbish. And then meditation will be a natural extension. It's easy. Don't think that we need to occupy every minute of our life with sensual enjoyment. This is increasing the rubbish to the house. If we have time, then why not just give the mind some leisure time, a small break without doing anything, just simply knowing. Try to collect minutes of such leisure time, and it will cultivate the mind to be more spacious, empty from too many furnitures. And when our house is clean, the mind is easy to be awake, to wake up from the delusion of ego. Then in this at this position, we can observe this body and mind, five khandhas, as they are, not from a perspective of a master or a owner, but from a humble knower, even in our daily life. So cleanliness of our mental house is not the purpose, and don't be attached to the cleanliness. Cleanliness is to help the mind, the house owner, to wake up, to be aware that actually it is just a watcher in the cinema. It lives in the house, but it's not the owner of the house. It is part of the nature. Okay, time's up for today. Number 17.
Oh, things are quite smooth because I have done another meditation section this afternoon with another group of Jama friends. Yes, this the comment I say is similar to yesterday class. I'll be with you in Chinese, so one day doesn't change a lot, I would say.
Yeah, because it is impermanent. Our mind keep on changing every moment, every minute, and even we are listening to the same thing, we feel different because our mind is changed. So it's not surprising. Everything is happening like this. When we recall a memory in our when we are still young, when our mind is different, we have different view towards that. We have different feelings. So it's the same. The mind interprets the whole world. Everything starts from the mind. When the mind is positive, then this world is heaven. And when the mind is negative, then this world is hell. Because the hell and heaven exist in the mind already. When we are looking at the world with a hell being, the world is burning. When we're looking at this world as a heavenly being, then the world is serene, is peaceful. So cultivate this one single mind, and then we can change the whole world. So always remember, we are born here, and everything that we are experiencing is for the cultivation of mind. Life is the process of cultivating the mind. Nothing more than this. We can't gain anything from the world, from the life, except learn from it, grow from it. Okay.
Okay. Good night, Ajahn. See you
Good night.
Friday.
Okay. Keep your house simple and clean. Good night.
Okay. Good night.
And number 9.
Thank you, Ajahn. So I think today, the knowing mind is more neutral. It's it doesn't react as much. I mean, even though there are still moments of scattering thoughts and it's not, I wouldn't say drowsiness, but the knowing gets kind of dull, but it kind of recovers pretty quickly, and it wasn't struggling. Yeah, so it's pretty smooth. Thank you.
The practice of meditation, we can learn a lot of things from meditation if we have the right view. For the meditation part, we learn the meditation skill, will be more skillful in dealing with the 5 hindrances, so that our mind will be become peaceful quicker than usual. This is the technique, the meditation technique. But we can learn something more than this. That is our right view. Every time we observe, and we observe from the perspective of right view of anicca, dukkha, anatta, then will be our faith in the right view will be deepened. Then the right view will be getting firmer, stronger. We are not that easily deluded, get lost in the 5 hindrances, and this is more reliable than the skills, because the skills are something dealing to the situation, just like medicine to the disease, but the disease can be changing. Sometimes the disease is so serious. For example, when we are having serious sickness, when we are having some emotional tragedy, then the situation will be not under our control. We can all kinds of medicine have no effect. But when we have a strong right view, we just keep ourselves undeluded, even in the most difficult situation. And remember that everything in this life is serving for the cultivation of the mind, of wisdom. Just keep this view. Then we can be positive towards everything.
Okay, thank you, Ajahn.
Number 3.
Thank you, Ajahn. Today meditations, a lot of interruptions in surrounding. Okay. But anyhow, try to let go and control myself with awareness, self-awareness. So far, so good. Yeah.
The sounds go into your ears, but didn't go into your mind. But the reaction of the mind disturb the mind itself, and that is the aversions, right? So remember, they are in different dimensions, the sounds and the mind. So how can it interrupt the mind? It's not the sounds interrupting the mind. It's our aversion. So when we find that our mind is disturbed, pay attention to the aversion rather than the sounds. Because this is the cause of our scattered mind. This is the hindrance. Sound is not one of the 5 hindrances, but the aversion is. So find out your true hindrance so that you can solve it. If you cannot recognize the disease, you have no way to cure it. So when you know that there's a aversion, the resistance in the mind, then just be open to this, relax to it, relax and face it, and accept it as as one of the natural phenomena. So when we can identify this, then our mindfulness is not deluded. Our right view is still there. We still know that even this reactions of the mind is not the mind itself. It's not me. It's not belong to me. Just be patient like this, and slowly the mind will relax and stop creating the aversion. Even it doesn't relax, and at the end, just let it be. We are knowing all the moment. We're knowing the aversion, and that is already a kind of meditation, right? When we are knowing the aversion, it's the Dhammanupassana, knowing the 5 hindrances. So when our mind is open and aware, we have nothing to fear. But we need to readjust our view that not only a peaceful mind, or not only the meditation object that we set at the beginning is called meditation. Meditation is mindfulness at the present moment, and that's all. Sometimes the mind is not peaceful, sometimes it's peaceful. But even in the unpeaceful mind, we can be mindful. So when other people scold you, don't think that other people's speech is the cause for your unpeaceful mind. So we can find the true cause of suffering in our own mind. Try to apply this into our daily life. Okay. And number 4.
My meditation today is not that good because I had not enough sleep for the past few nights. Yeah.
So sleep more. You can just let the brain sleep in the meditation. You can just let the brain shut down and do nothing on that. At the beginning, the mind can stay with the sleeping brain. But later, when it accumulates enough energy, then you can free yourself from the sleeping brain and keep the brain sleep. But the knowing can be free. So it's not a process of fighting against the sleepiness. Meditation is kind of resting the mind. So it is refreshing. It is kind of sleep. It's kind of rest. So we don't need to fight against the 5 hindrances, but we know the way. We have the wisdom to know how to deal with it. without diluting the knowing. Actually, they are in different dimensions, as I said, but the mind dilutes itself into the lower dimension, so that those in the lower dimension can disturb the mind. This is the attachment to ego. Ego is everything that the mind thinks what it is. If you think that I am the one suffering from the sounds, then it becomes this becomes the ego. If you think that I'm suffering from the sleepiness, then it is the ego. But if we don't attach to anything, then nothing can affect the mind. So try to do the experiment like this. Then slowly and slowly we can be more confident in such right view. You can choose some time when you are most sleepy to practice meditation. Try to do the experiment. Don't be afraid. Okay. Number 7.
The mind could, this time the mind could really relax, and yeah, it followed. It was very present and was opening and relaxing. It was very pleasant. And to see also how it's a lot of suffering that is just existing because it's like holding on to it.
Yes. Just like the physical pain, it is there. This is real. But if we don't hold on to it, then we don't suffer. So for the mental stress, it's the same. It is there. We accept. But if we don't hold on to it, we don't regard ourselves as the one suffering from this stress, then we are not suffered. So the core part is the ego. Ego is everywhere, and it is created all the time. It's much more than we think. Some ego are coarse, some egos are subtler. If we are aware of the mind, then we know the process of creation of ego. Once the ego is created, then you are something. Then this something is subject to sufferings. But if we don't create, if we don't regard ourselves as anything, then there's no one to suffer. Although there's still some emotional dissatisfaction, stress like this, but just let it be there. Just like your knees are painful during the meditation, you can just simply let it be. We don't hope we can solve all kind of physical or mental suffering in this person, but we practice ourselves not to be deluded. This is more important. Okay. Yeah, and then Gabriela, yeah.
So today it was the mind was very light, tranquil, and quite awake. So I was a little bit surprised because the sleepiness was not at all there. So
So don't believe that even some days where we don't have enough sleep. Don't believe that you will be sleepy during the meditation. It is not sure. It is impermanent because there's many conditions conditioning the result. It's not a must. We must be sleepy because we don't have enough sleep in the earlier days. Just stay with the present moment. When the sleepiness comes, just find a way to stay with the sleepiness without delusion. So again, I remind the same sentence to everyone. Life is a cultivation of mind. So meditation is part of life, right? So why not meditation is serving for cultivating the mind? What can stay with the mind? Not the peacefulness, but the right view, the wisdom. This is something that we can bring with us after death, right? And we need to let go everything, but we can learn from the life. So if we gain wisdom, then we earn something real. So we can try to sell all kinds of wealth and change it into wisdom. This is worthy. Give up everything for the wisdom. This is very worthy trading. Okay.
Okay.
And keep the mind awake without deluded in the daily life. Then our mind will be much lighter.
Yeah.
The house will be clean even without the cleaning job. Okay. And then number 16.
Good afternoon, Ajahn.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Today the mind is very peaceful. Today the mind is peaceful, tranquil, more mindful of the aversion that comes in. So I'm able to, once I'm aware, then I drop it. So I'm aware to back to the present moment, listening to the Ajahns narration. So it was okay.
When the mind is peaceful, actually the feeling of peaceful is still a feeling. It's not the mind itself. The mind has nothing. It's not nothing so-called peaceful or not peaceful. But the peaceful is the temporary settling down of the energies in this person, in this five khandhas, body and mind. Sometimes we are not peaceful because of the body, the vibrations in the body. Sometimes we are not peaceful because of vibrations of the mind, the feelings, thinkings. These are the vibrations, activities. But when these activities are settled down, then the mind will have the feeling of peacefulness. But don't think that this peacefulness is the mind itself. It is just an feeling. It is just an object for the mind. And we are cultivating the mind, not the feeling. When the feelings are peaceful, then try to wake up the mind, to separate the mind from everything that it knows, from the five khandhas. This is the next step after the body-mind combination is peaceful. So we observe as an observer without any identity. It's a knowing from nowhere. It's at the middle of the ring. This is the right way to set up the knowing. And only from this perspective we see the reality of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. And this is more important part than the peacefulness. Right? Don't be stuck by the peacefulness without cultivating the mind in the real sense.
Yeah, so Ajahn, like I realized that the problem is like more to delusion. So that now, like the mind is like to note the thought. Any thought arises, like to note. So it's like I can see that the mind has the tendency to do that nowadays. No, no. So I just let it be lah. I think it's the mind is on the right track, right? So because when you note, then it drop. It's like the mind really wants to drop the thought. So it's like I just watch. I think I'm on the right track, right?
We should allow the activities in this body and mind, because we need to use this body and mind to live, right? We need to have activities. So, but the practice is not to stop the activities, but to detach from these activities. That means that you are not attaching yourself onto these activities. Activities of the body, activities of the mind. They are not you, but just let them happen. Because you need to live, you need to interact with the society. So this person need to have activities, need to have speech. But what we are practicing, the level of wisdom is to detach, not to stop. And try to find out a balancing point between the activities and the detachment. They are not interfering each other actually.
But why is it that when I'm aware, automatically the mind likes to drop it?
Yeah, because when there's no mindfulness, and then this is delusion already. So when the mind is mindful, then there should never be delusion. Unless we are using the wrong mindfulness. that means the mindfulness still combined with delusion. Just like a cat waiting for a mouse. So it is concentrated. It is knowing every moment. But this is not a right mindfulness, because there's still delusion inside. It's deluding in ego. I am waiting for it, for my food. Right? So there's still delusion. So it's not a complete pure knowing. When the knowing is without self, without any attachment, then this is the knowing that we need in cultivating wisdom.
So the safe awareness will be like beware of anicca, dukkha, anatta. That is
from this purpose, from this perspective.
So it's
It's the
pretty
knowing
safe,
from this perspective. Yeah, that is a combination of mindfulness and wisdom.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Ajahn.
Yeah. And number 5.
Ajahn.
Find something to talk.
I don't know what to talk about.
Daily life or meditation, anything.
It was nothing very special during the last meditation. The mind was taking a rest. Relax and didn't try to listen or not listen to what you say. So it was quite relaxing, and just sometimes some thoughts comes out like I was thinking about to bake a cake, a banana cake, a bit later, and then I try to go through the process a little bit, and and then the mind came back. Oh my God, I'm meditating, so so it was like a usual practice, nothing special. So I don't know. Yeah. So
is it delicious?
I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't finish.
Didn't go yet. After this.
Although we need to set the mind at the middle. We don't need to intentionally pay attention to the talk or meditation, but don't close the door. But still, there is different level of emphasizing. So sometimes we use the meditation as the first object, the primary object, and the Dhamma talk is the secondary object. Sometimes we use the reversed. But when we are following the meditation guide, we use the second one. That means that we use the Dhamma talk as the primary object, and the breathing is the background, is the secondary object. Then it will be easier for us to continue, because the voice is about meditation. So it is easier to connect with our meditation, even when we are listening to the Dhamma talk. So just like now you are listening to what I'm saying, this is listening, this is the primary object, but you can try to know the breathing at the same time at the background. So this is the right mental state when we are following the guided meditation. So you find that you don't need to pay too much attention to the breathing, but you can know it is there, right? You are listening. This is the main cause. This is the primary object, but it doesn't affect your secondary object. So it's just like what you are doing now. This is the right way. You can try to do the experiment next time. Then this will prevent you to finish the cake, of course.
Finish the cake in my mind, yeah. So, imaginative cake. So I hope it's delicious. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and then number 2.
Okay. Good morning, Ajahn. And also, just like Alan, nothing too special to share for the meditation. And but well, as maybe some of you maybe some of you remember that in one of the previous session, I mentioned that I got a strong aversion when I learned that from one of my colleagues that he badmouthed me. Yeah. But actually that is something already become history. So, and recently when I met that guy again, I can't feel any feeling of aversion at all. Just as usual, just chit chat with him as usual. Yeah. So it's the feeling is a bit strange afterwards. Yeah. Maybe that is impermanent and
the conditions are impermanent, but the change is that we can let go easier than before. If we can really let go in the mind, then we don't suffer from the history. We don't suffer from the self-identification. That is, we identified ourselves with the one who is suffering from the history. So the taste of letting go is good.
And maybe it is just because that I know that he is no longer a threat to me, because we will be in separate team. We won't work together normally.
And then this is not a let go of self, because the self can escape from the situation, escape from the position being hurt by that guy, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But the best way is to learn from this event, to learn that all the sufferings come from the attachment to ego. This is the ultimate goal for our practice. We should learn from this, and we can only learn from this. So everything in this life is serving for the purpose of cultivation of mind. So I need to repeat every time when I answer the questions, so that you can remember. Okay.
Just try your best. Thank you.
Number 10.
Thank you, Ajahn. I'm working hard of doing the experiment for myself. For every meditation sitting, I'm trying to treat it as an experience, and just like working in the laboratory, seeing how, because the mind is so complicated for me. Actually, I'm not looking for something peaceful or have any expectation, but I'm trying to understand what it really like. And because it's so complicated, involve a lot of feeling, monkey mind jumping up and down, aversion or even delusion. So I'm trying to get into it. I'm trying to know more about it. No matter what it comes out, or no matter what the result, whether it is good or bad, whether it is satisfactory or not, I just tell myself, just keep on doing it, because that's the you are making use of this opportunity to cultivate the
Yes.
mind.
Yes. So you don't need me to repeat the sentence.
Yes, of course. and this is the ultimate, the most important part of it, because nobody knows when we are going to die, especially during the COVID-19. Not Ajahn, you are in the hospital, but maybe 1 week I'm not here anymore. So I have to prepare for it to see my body and my mind separate, and see how it goes. So it is a practice, and I have no expectation, but try to be more diligent, and trying to build up, cultivate the wisdom.
And try to apply the same practice onto your son and daughter.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone may concern if more their children than themselves, and so someone will attach to their children more than themselves. And this is also an important course, important lesson that we need to learn. They are also the teaching material for you.
Yes.
So you are
not
learning
only
from everything.
Yeah. And also my parents, and also my husband. So
yes.
they are all teachers. So I'm hurry up to do as more as I could, because time is running out.
Just keep doing it at the present moment. We need to hurry, because we have no way to go. We have nowhere to go. Wherever, no matter how rushed we are staying at the present moment. We can't go anywhere. So just keep at the staying at the present moment, and that's enough. No fast, no slow.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Ajahn.
Okay. And the lecture already taken part in the yesterday lesson. So do all of you, any one of you have any question? No? Yeah? Okay. Number one.
I don't know. Well, anyway, it's been about 6 months meditating with you by Zoom. And I have like a few changes in my daily practice. I used to listen to a lot of music, and on my way to my school where I study, I always ride the subway, and the usually I just listen to music or just look for something funny on the internet. And a few weeks ago, like during listening to music, like this thought pops up in my mind. Oh, I can meditate instead of just listening to music. And then I've been meditating for a while on the subway. And I want to know because it's not like before I sort of force myself to meditate on the subway or like when I have free time, and it wasn't that voluntary, and this time it's more voluntary than forceful.
Yeah, this is wisdom arises.
Oh.
Because you really believe that meditation is good for you.
But I knew it was good for me. That's why I forced myself. But this time it's
yeah. When we really understand the benefit of practice, then the mind will be willing to do automatically. But sometimes it's temporary because only it happens only under the conditions that there are not so many hindrances, not so many sensual objects, alternative sensual objects. So because it is under the protection of precept, so it's easier for us to cultivate the wisdom like this, right? When the sensual distractions are so strong, then it's difficult because our right view is not that firm, it's not that strong yet. So we still need the protection of precept to separate ourselves from those two dangerous situations.
So
we still need the protection like this.
So like you mean I have a good condition, so I could meditate. The wisdom could arise easier.
Yes.
But what do you mean by having more sensual stimulus?
That means we are if there is no protection of precept, we are all the time in the conditions under the distractions of sensual objects, under the threat of the five hindrances. Then the mind is more difficult to be awake.
You mean if I play computer games or like
yes, that's an even stronger distraction, right? Even stronger hindrance. When the mind is blind, covered by the clouds, then the light is no longer there. The mind is not awake, so that it forgets the right view.
So and the second thing that's related to this phenomenon is that 6 months ago when I started meditating with you by Zoom, it was very difficult to meditate. Even though I'm meditating, I felt pain when I tried to like be peaceful and concentrate. But that pain has subsided a little by little, and it's not that much painful anymore. And I personally think it's because I was too attached to sensual pleasures, so I couldn't bear the feeling of peacefulness.
You mean physical pain?
not physical pain, just, you know, like I was too agitated in my mind.
Oh, okay.
I didn't like to, my mind didn't like to be peaceful.
Not so used to peacefulness.
Yes.
Everything is habit. Everything can be cultivated. But we should make the right choice. Whether we are cultivating the precept, samadhi, and wisdom, or we are cultivating greed, aversion, or delusion. Right? We are cultivating everything with the experience of life. But we need to make the right choice, because this wise choice is the way leading to end the sufferings.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Any more questions? Yes. Number 9.
Yes, Ajahn. So earlier you mentioned that the right mindfulness should come like natural, right? You should not be like a cat waiting for a mouse. So how do we train for the mindfulness to come naturally, so we can shorten the time we spend in a delusional state? Because usually when we are like doing formal practice, it's easier, right? Like you say, it's a greenhouse. But then it's in daily activities that sometimes when we are deluded, it just, you know, feel like you just close your eye, but then it's like 20, 30 minutes, even an hour. So how do we train for the mindfulness to come, the right mindfulness to come naturally?
We cultivate the humble knower. Knower is a knower, but it's a humble knower too. You are knowing as a master. You are not knowing as an emperor. You are knowing as a humble, tiny being. You're part of this body and mind, right? So this is the attitude we need to be aware, and also we need to avoid those two dangerous defilements to happen, to prevent from the very beginning. This is precept, very important. Because we know that our right view is not that strong yet. We need under the protection of precept. And in under the protection, then our mindfulness can be easily established. Then our right view can be easier to be cultivated. When it becomes stronger and stronger, then you can face directly to more difficult conditions. So actually, nothing more than the precept, samadhi, wisdom, because this is one path, the single path. This path has eightfold aspects. It should be combined. So we are doing both all the precept, samadhi, and wisdom training at the same time in our daily experience. But the most important is the right view, right? It is the beginning and it is the ending. So we start from right view and end in right view. At the beginning, remind yourself what you are cultivating, your direction. As I said, all the experience in our life is served for the purpose of cultivating this mind. So if we mind ourselves this perspective, we can stand firmer, right? So this is the case that wisdom cultivate our precepts and samadhi, because when we have the right view, right direction, we know the meaning of precepts, and we are willing to practice samadhi. We are willing to give up sensual pleasures, right?
Okay.
Yeah, don't ask for any shortcut other than precept, samadhi, wisdom. No way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more questions? If no more questions, then see you next year.
So yes, but before we say goodbye to Ajahn, let us bow 3 times together in our usual way. Ajali Vandana, Abhi Vandana, Ajali Vandana, Abhi Vandana, Ajali Vandana, Abhi Vandana, Ajali Vandana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So let's thank Ajahn Yiu once again, and hoping to see you again next week, guys. Goodbye.